Hey guys, it's Daniel, and for today's trainer tip, I wanted to talk about two different kinds of muscular contractions, being concentric and eccentric, and give you guys a little bit of an overview as to what they are and why it may be beneficial to you to understand the difference between the two. So we'll start off with concentric contraction, and a concentric contraction is when a muscle is shortening under tension to move a joint. A good example of this one is the biceps curl. So if I grab this weight and I'm bringing it up, my biceps muscle is concentrically contracting to produce flexion of the elbow. So everything is shortening here. The muscle is shortening and the joint angle is shortening. That's concentric. Okay. Eccentric is the opposite. It is when a muscle is lengthening under tension and produces normally a greater change in joint angle. And now this can vary depending on what kind of which muscle in the body part we're looking at, but sticking to the biceps, it is going to be lengthening and producing a greater joint angle. So I start off with a concentric contraction, and as I slowly lower it, I am eccentrically contracting the biceps. The biceps is playing a role to control the weight down and not letting it just jerk. Okay, that's an eccentric contraction. So why is it important to understand the difference of the two? Now, many of us know that simply working out and taking our muscles through some concentric and eccentric contractions are going to produce stronger muscles, potentially help them grow, make them leaner, and things like that, okay? So what is often overlooked is that an eccentric contraction should also play an important role in people's exercise programs. And that is because when we think about controlling weight, lowering weight slowly, whether it be with a bench press or a squat or a biceps curl or any sort of an exercise, we tend to overlook the fact that our tendons and our ligaments are being put under stress. Now, say for example that I am lifting a much heavier dumbbell than this right now for my biceps, and I was doing these bicep curls, right? Well, if I don't have the appropriate eccentric control, what's going to happen is immediately when I decide to go through the lowering phase, what could happen is I could have a tendon rupture or a tendon partial tear or anything of that sort. And that is because maybe I haven't trained my biceps eccentrically enough. And why it's important to do that is because when you actually take a muscle through that eccentric contraction, what you're doing is not only training the muscle to lengthen under tension, but also the ligaments and the tendons. And it's a very, very, very good way to train your tendons to be able to withhold these high amounts of stress, force, or weight. So by slowly lowering a weight, what I'm doing is I'm working out those tendons and I'm getting them used to being able to shorten and lengthen under tension in a controlled fashion, and therefore kind of being a little bit proactive in injury prevention. Now, this can be applied to so many different kinds of exercises. The squat is a really good example. A lot of times it's super important to not just explode up when you do your squat, but to slowly lower that weight. The bench press is also another very good example. A lot of times if you see people slowly lowering it, they are taking their chest muscles and those tendons and ligaments through an eccentric phase, and that's much safer than when they're just doing a jerky motion, because that may lead to an injury. So I encourage you guys to do some research on both concentric and eccentric contractions, see how they may or may not benefit your own training programs, and thank you for watching. See you guys next time.